So, if you'd like to take your product from a good idea to a household name, then you're going to love this conversation today. And I am so pleased to be hanging out today with Morgan Cederblom. And one of the reasons I love hanging out with him is because I really enjoy spending time and learning from people who are really good at what they do and take really great care of people. And Morgan is my go-to guy when I have questions. He's forgotten more about this stuff, industry stuff, than I'll ever know. So you're in for a treat today, and we're just going to have a dialogue here, some common asked questions, and hope, if you're trying to take a product to the next level, that this is a valuable conversation for you. So welcome, Morgan. Before I get going too far, I'd love you to take a second and share with people a little bit about your pedigree and background and why that's relevant to this conversation. And then I think you ought to explain that rather unique Southern accent you have there too. So tell us, where's that accent from?
Well, it is quite unique, a unique Southern accent, but in fact, it comes from Sweden, from Stockholm, where I am from originally. But I moved here 27 years ago to the United States, and I'm a U.S. citizen now. But the accent will be with me for the rest of my life, and I don't mind. I like it, and a lot of people like it. So yeah. I'm going to keep that. Thanks, Mark, for that great introduction. You're raising the expectations way too high on this interview, or whatever you call it. But it's a pleasure to be with you, Mark. It's always good to see you, and looking forward to our chat.
So your background impressed me when I first met you. Tell us a little bit about your track record. You worked for some small little beverage company, I think. Take us through that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not that small. It's called the Coca-Cola Company. And have you heard of it?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. You should, Mark, because you're in the beverage business. Otherwise, that we major void in your resume. But anyway, I spent a good 20 years in the Coca-Cola system. 10 years with the Coca-Cola bottler, which in fact was a brewery group that is owned now by Carlsberg Brewery, a big Danish brewery conglomerate. But they were also a Coca-Cola bottler. And so that's where I started my career, back in Stockholm, Sweden. And then I was hired by the Coca-Cola Company to run Coca-Cola's operations in Sweden and in Finland. And later also, I was part of the build-up of Coca-Cola's presence in the former Soviet Union, and which was a lot of fun. And then they hired me to come over to this wonderful, wonderful country of America back in 1993 to work for and report to the chief financial officer of the Coca-Cola Company. And that was a phenomenal opportunity and a great experience. And then I quit in 1997 and resigned and wanted to become my own boss, so to speak. I had gotten my green card, so I was ready to work on my own. And I started my entrepreneurial career, which is the one I'm on still to this day.
And so really your whole work experience right now is helping folks with their beverage. Kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so the past 10 years after I left Coke, I was a turnaround CEO on contract. I help companies turn around businesses. But the past 10 years, I have helped international brands and also domestic brands, food and beverage brands primarily, to prepare for a launch and get established in the United States. And so that's been my focus the past 10 years in my business America, which is my firm, based out of Atlanta, Georgia, wonderful Atlanta. You should come visit someday. I mean, we almost have the same wonderful weather as you have in San Diego, Mark, but not quite maybe, but a little bit too much humidity compared to you guys, but we're good. So anyway, so that's what I've been doing the past 10 years, and that's what I'm doing now, and that's how we met, Mark, remember, through your excellent CMC Beverage Solutions, co-packer capabilities. That's how we connected. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on right now. I'm doing full time.
Perfect. So this makes this conversation so natural. So let's say somebody listening here, I've got a new product idea. Give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of kind of the major steps in the process. If I've got my idea on a napkin and I'm ready to go. What are some of the major steps in the process?
So you have to have a plan, number one, which is really going to be your roadmap for success. If you don't have a plan, you don't have a roadmap. You know the old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Right.
And that's very true in the beverage business. So you have to have a plan. That's number one. Number two, you have to clearly understand the answer to a very basic question. And that question is, what makes your brand special, different, and better than the competitors? And you will be surprised, Mark, how many brands that can't answer that question, but they launch their brand anyway. Differentiation is the key of the game in beverage management and food and beverage consumer packaged goods. And then once you have that, a clear answer to that question, then you need to focus on executing your business plan that you put in place. And back at Coca-Cola, we used something called the AAA strategy, which I still adhere to and use in building brands. And the 3 A's stand for acceptability, affordability, and availability. And so it's very good to keep in mind. And if you think about each one of those A's and how you're doing in acceptability, for example, which is the first A, acceptability has to do with, is your brand accepted? Do the consumers know about your brand? Do they like it? Do they want to buy it? And of course, you achieve that through marketing and sales and promotions and social media and all those things. And once you have an acceptability in place for your brand, you need to make it available so that people can find your brand. And availability has everything to do with distribution. And here's where you work on the distribution aspect of your brand building. And then once it is available, people accept it. They know where to find it. They also have to be able to afford it. So that's the third A, if you will. So if you work on the acceptability, the availability, and the affordability of your brand, then you have a good chance of building a strong brand.
I'm taking copious notes here. So AAA, I love this one: acceptability, available, and affordable.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
Yes.
All right. Perfect.
Sounds simple, Mark. Sounds simple, but it's not that simple. You have to really work on all those 3 A's.
Yeah. All right. So what are the 3 biggest mistakes new beverage-preneaurs, we'll call them, make?
So I would say that the 3 biggest mistakes, Mark, would be launching a brand without a clear business plan.
Right.
That's like flying blind, okay, and hoping for the best. A lot of brands do it, but it's not a good decision. So that's the first mistake. The second mistake would be that you have not tested your consumer acceptance of your brand. So what I always do is I help brands with a consumer focus group where a select group of consumers would taste the product. They would look at the design. They would have comments on the packaging and the value proposition so that you know or at least you have a fairly good idea of how the consumers really look at your brand before you launch. And then the third mistakes I would say would be that a lot of brands try to go too wide too soon. Okay, so they try to go nationwide, and instead of focusing in on a limited geographic area,
right,
and do it really, really well in that area. And that area could be a state, it could be a city, it could be a part of a city, and just blow it out of the ballpark there, and then create a success story, and then you can expand the brand. But that would be my take on that question, Mark.
All right, those are good, and I concur when I'm talking to folks who are relatively new in the system. They're enthusiastic about their beverages, and they're one of three people that this is amazing, but who knows if acceptability is going to be are they going to love it?
Exactly.
All right. This is what are some of the frequently asked questions? Let's talk one or two of those that are some of your favorites, most asked questions.
Okay, so a lot of entrepreneurs that start up their brands, they want to know, how much money do I need in order to launch my brand?
Good question.
And when will I start making money? And how much do you think I can sell the brand for when I exit? So that shows you where the agenda is right away. But those are some very common questions that I get from brands.
Interesting. So they're wanting to know when they can buy their vacation island before they get stuff in a can. I like that one. So I'm always intrigued. There's questions people ask. I bet there's questions they should be asking that maybe they're not. From your vantage point, what are some of the questions? And I have a feeling I know some of the answers, but give us some.
Sure. Yes. So some good questions in my book, at least, would be, what is the most cost-effective way of launching and building my brand? What should be the go-to strategy for launching the brand and expanding it? Should I go online only? Should I go the traditional route with distributors, retailers, in the grocery or convenience channel and on-premise, or would it be a combination of all of those? So that's a good question.
Yeah.
And the other quite good question would be, where do I focus my resources? And because that's a key question going into a brand. And then the third really good question, I think, would be, what would be the top 5 priorities for me when I build the brand? So an intelligent question.
Let's dig deeper and unpeel that one a little bit. The 5 priority. What would be a couple examples of, I'm a beverage-preneaurs, what might be some of the priorities on my plate?
Okay, so it may have to do with selection of a target market. Let's say you have a functional drink, and it has a very unique ingredient. Then where would you start launching that brand? Well, you would start it in an area where you have health and wellness aware people, consumers, maybe in a major metropolitan area, like Atlanta, for example, where I am, or it could be Miami, or it could be Los Angeles in the Southern California where you are, where there are a lot of health and wellness oriented people like yourself. Yeah, I know. So that's kind of how that would be an example of how you get get it started, so to speak, Mark.
Yeah, and one of the priorities there. So I know in one of our conversations we talked about, and I'm always hounding on this, is people knowing their numbers. And you watch Shark Tank, and you got to know your numbers, right, and stuff. So talk to us about the numbers from your vantage point, what we got to look at, think about, margins, numbers. Take me through that conversation we had before.
Sure. So that's really paramount to success, and really something that you have to understand from day one. And that again comes back to having a plan. And in a business plan, and when I help clients, I always develop and create the profit and loss statement over the next 3 years, so that the client, the brand, would know exactly, what the return on investment would be, EBITDA, revenues, top line revenues, and the cost associated with running that brand or running that business. A key component, of course, is the cost of goods sold, and understanding your COGS, as it's normally referred to, is extremely important. And of course, in that you have components of COGS. You have the cost of the can, if it's a canned beverage. You have the cost of the sleeves, the labels. You have the production costs from CMC. Right. You have, any setup time that might be involved in it. You have the warehousing cost. You have the transportation cost from the warehouse to your distribution center, and so on, so that you break down and understand per unit or per SKU what your COGS are. A very, very important part. And then once you have that nailed down and you have an understanding of that, you would also know your margins and your gross margins. And so it's, of course, very important to understand your gross margins as you start a business to see if you have a chance of succeeding, because you have to build a brand by investing in promotions and in marketing and social media, whatnot. And then, so that's one component, and that's the COGS. The other component would be to understand the distributor and the retailer. If you're distributing your brand through the traditional retail model, then you would have to understand the margins that the distributor will want to have to be motivated, and the retailer will want to have to be motivated, so that everybody wins in the value chain. So that's a perspective and an understanding you must have in order to be successful.
So if I've got my product and, I'm paying $1 for it, cost of goods, let's just use that as a number. My distributor is going to want to mark it up, and how much would you say on average?
Well, normally it depends, and it varies depending on what the distributor actually does with the account. But on general, if it does a lot of merchandising or if it's just dropping off product, but as a general rule of thumb, a distributor would want to have 25 to 28, 30% margin, and then a retailer would be expecting between 35 and 40% gross margin to be able to be motivated.
Okay. Those are good things to keep in mind if you're out there with a product that somebody else is going to want to make some money. So we get that. And then, so I've got cost of goods. I've got my fixed costs, of course. I'm the canner. How much am I trying to make? Percent one. I know I'm trying to make as much as I can to buy my island and retire after, I sell it to Coca-Cola. But on average, what's a beverage margin these days to the producer?
So I would discourage anybody from going into a venture if they don't have 48 to 50% gross margin. That's kind of where I put it. Other people might want to run a tighter, ship, but I think 45 to 50 plus is kind of where I want to be with the brand, to leave enough room for building and investing in the brand and be successful.
Yeah. And one of the things too is managing that cost of goods, by supplies. And with today's current environment, it is like the Wild West. Can prices are crazy, ingredient prices go, and you get a 5 or 10% bump, just a little bump in just one of those items. or a couple of them, it can really screw up your cost of good margins pretty quick. So being really tenacious about staying on top of that is even more important, I think, today than it probably ever has been, based on what I'm seeing. But those are good numbers to have. So if I, one of the things I do when I'm talking to prospects is we're really good at canning, but we're not the authorities in marketing or bringing a product to market. And, we have some opinions on things, and we have brought a product to market, so we understand that side of the coin. But I'm sending people, I say, look, you're out of state, you need to talk to Morgan. You need to talk to Morgan and kind of lay that solid foundation of a plan. Walk us through some of the steps, if I were a newbie coming to you, that you would take our company through. I think first one what's the first step? You tell us.
Well, just to back up just a tad, Mark, on Business America, which is my company, and how I service clients. Business America is really a one-stop shop for all the services and connections a brand needs in order to launch and build a brand in America. And to help me, I have a team of experts, 9 people that are all experts in their own respective fields. Everything from legal to accounting to social media to staffing to branding and to co-packing, where you are, the star in that space. So through me and my team, a brand can get everything done that needs to be done in order to build a brand in the U.S. And so the process that I use and my team uses is a very straightforward one, and it is 3 phases that I use in order to help the client. The first phase is, as you might have guessed by now, is called planning.
What?
Yeah. See,
that's revolutionary. There we go. Yep.
Make sure you're awake, Mark, and following along. But so phase 1 is planning, and with that comes everything I've been talking about: getting a business plan, really understanding your numbers, the go-to strategy, and so on, and a clear profit and loss statement, and so on. And then the second phase is what I call pre-launch. And in pre-launch, we would help a client get everything done that needs to be done before we go into the market. And if it's an international brand, it could be an FDA approvals, it could be setting up a U.S. entity, a U.S. company, setting up accounting systems, and everything that comes with setting up a legal entity, and then getting the labels right, and getting a social media expert lined up, which I have in my team, and so on and so forth. The import process, logistic processes, the 3PL services that need to be deployed, and so on. So that's the phase number 2, pre-launch. And then phase number 3 is the fun part. That's execution of the business plan. Go to market, pitch distributors, pitch retailers, get purchase orders, secure shelf placements, get in the coolers, get on the shelves, and sell, basically. That's what phase 3 is all about. So those are the 3 phases that I offer, Business America offers to a client.
So if I'm a new beverage entity, when's the perfect time to engage your services? Well,
come to me when you need a plan and a go-to-market strategy. It's always a good first step to come and talk to me about that, where you are. If you have your formulation done, if you haven't gotten your formulation done, then you need to go and do that. And I have an excellent partner called Beverage-preneaurs that is an expert in that field, and they help with the formulation of the actual liquid, the beverage. But once you have that, come to me and we'll sit down and I can help you craft a go-to-market strategy. And that's normally the best time to engage with me. Now, if you're already in the market, I can help you expand distribution and build your brand from where you are when you first contact me. So I'm equally excited about that. But if you're a really new brand, then you need to start with a plan. And if you're an established brand, I can help you accelerate profitable growth.
Okay. So sooner than later for the newer ones. And if they want to kind of put steroids on their current process, you can help with that. So,
absolutely.
So the, just to be clear here, so I get 10,000 calls a day. That might be a slight exaggeration, but a lot of calls with people, needing resources or sources for, I need cans, I need sleeves, I need packaging, I need warehousing, I need transportation, I need this is all stuff that if they're one of your clients, you can quarterback them on different resources and game plans, right?
Well, so again, when you have questions like that, that tells me you have not thought through the launch. Then you have like 50 different moving parts, surrounding you and around. And so that's again, it shows the importance of nailing down, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who you're going to work with. And then you're in a much better position to do a good job with your brand. Yeah.
So a lot of folks, I think, are ready, fire, aim, versus how's it normally go? Ready, aim, fire, right? But it's yeah. So all right. So yeah, that plan is critical. That's super. All right. Let's see. What else do I want to know? We talked numbers, your support. Any closing encouragement or words as we kind of wrap up this conversation?
Well, I really enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Mark. And you work for a fantastic company and a co-packer that I would recommend to any client out there that might be, any brand that might be listening to this. Go to Mark and his team, and they'll help you with everything that has to do with production and get good, high quality products produced. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I would love to help clients that are listening to this. Call me. Beverage-preneaurs is my website, Beverage-preneaurs, and you can find me there. So thanks, Mark, for everything.
Yeah, so it's business, just
America.
the regular word business, BUSINESS, America. I know how to spell that, .biz, correct?
That's it.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right. Well, as always, thanks for hanging with me. I think if somebody's listening to this with the inkling of moving a product from a good idea to a household name and do it with less struggle, headaches, and hassles, you need to talk to Morgan. That's it. So get that plan in place. So with that, until we talk next time, bud, thank you. It was fun. You did good.
You did too. Right. Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And 3, 2.